Do you remember a few weeks ago? The coffee with the long name? Well, we're going back there with a shorter name. This week, we're off to Limoncillo for the Red Bourbon Natural. So a couple of weeks ago, you might remember me talking to you about the Moresh family and Nicaragua and how many amazing coffees that we buy from them. This week we've got another one from there. It is a natural Bourbon, and it is from Limoncillo. Now this is what we would probably call their main stock. Caturra and Bourbon are the things that they do the most of on the farms because they're varietals that they've worked with as a family for a very long time. And they tend to produce incredibly well in Nicaragua. You may remember last week I was talking about how leaf rust attacked El Salvador. It seems to be a little bit less of an issue in Nicaragua. Now, I think there are a number of reasons for this. First of all, in a country like El Salvador, you have very small farms that can be between 5 and 15 hectares, which is not big at all. Whereas in Nicaragua, you're talking about 170, 250 hectares. So that thing I talked about where leaf rust can blow across from your neighbour's farm, well, if you've got lots of forest in between it and you've got, much bigger, it can be the outskirts of the farm that get attacked. But you can treat that before it gets into the inside of the farm. So it definitely puts them at an advantage having bigger farms because they can have more control. The other benefit it gives them consistency of the employees that work there. So what the Moresh family have done is created a lot of housing on the farm for the workers to live in, and they don't just live there during the picking, they will live there the whole year round. There'll be people that are working the farm 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, to maintain, things like weeding, cutting down the crops to make sure that they, what's the word I'm looking for, where they trim the plants, but basically like taking branches off and make pruning, that's what I'm looking for. But with that group of people being so far away from the city comes certain obligations. So, for instance, there isn't a shop nearby. You would have to travel for 15, 20 kilometres to get to the nearest shop. So what they've done, because they own a group of farms, on each of their farms, they've opened up shops. And they buy things in bulk for all of the shops so they can keep the costs down. So the cheapest place in Nicaragua to buy washing powder or a Kit Kat or, a can of Coke will be the farm. So they don't have to, wander off. And it's just an added benefit that they can provide to the people who live there. On top of that, they offer things like schooling, healthcare, education, daycare for children that are under school age. Really, really impressive things. And one of the most impressive ones for me is Limoncillo, just purely because of its huge size. They've been able to really invest in the infrastructure of the farm, which means that it's not just about how much you get paid, but it's how much you get in benefits. Things like they have 9 waterfalls on the farm, and from those waterfalls they've added hydroelectricity pumps, so people who work and live there can have electricity. Whereas outside of the farm, you would go to somebody that is living, less than half a kilometre away, they might not have access to that electricity or that consistent supply of electricity. So very, very self-running and looks after itself. But this is because of the investment that Dr. Moresh and the family put into looking after the people who work for them. Now, talk about somebody who needs looking after, who works for people. Roland works for me, and I really have to look after him. But it's time for you to hear his daft fact of the week. Before the daft fact, I've got to show you this. This is the only picture of the Has Been original coffee shop before we were a roastery. But come with me, because here's an original Roland. Roland, do you have a daft fact for us?
I do, Stephen. Did you know that Matagalpa is twinned with Lewisham?
Lewisham? I did not know that. That is quite a special fact. You can have a gold star today. Well done. So the competition that gives nothing but love. This week we have Rise and Shine Coffee 2019. which is La Fanny. And thank you very much for a lovely photo. Let me just check in my pocket. Here's your prize. Respect. Love. No, okay, I've got to stop that. That should not become a catchphrase on this one. This week's mug is my thumbs up to coffee. So if you want to like our videos on Facebook where you can watch them, then you should. Tenuous link, isn't it? Very tenuous link. So this is a natural coffee. And natural coffees I tend to find this descriptor a lot in there. So think dried fruit, dried sultanas, dried currants, but it's very sweet at the same time. It's kind of like the descriptor we came up with is Muscovado sugar, but I think that can be a little bit vague, but it's kind of just very brown sugary, very sticky, sweet. But the dried fruit is by far the most dominant part of this coffee. I get my coffee thumbs up like. Thank you for joining. It is a pleasure to have you along, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. But for the time being, do please remember, life is too short for bad coffee. Thumbs up. Tenuous links. Have you ever had lemon marshmallows?